All right, welcome back. Welcome back. So we have our database and we have a proxy server, right? We got Express. We got that up on the back end in my Google Chrome. So how do we connect these two things together, right? What we want to do is we want these things to listen to each other. Listen to each other. Okay, all right. So how do we do that? Well, by the way, please don't review this course based on my singing techniques. It's not fair. It's not fair. Okay, so what we want to do is, let's go to our notes. Our notes say we want to connect your Mongo database using the Mongoose library. So why don't we just copy number 5, and let's go to ChatGPT, and let's see what our friend the robot has to say about this. ChatGPT, I will tell you. So connect to your Mongo database using the Mongoose library. So I'm copying this, but it's important when you ask a question to be as clear as possible. So connect our what? Connect our Express server to MongoDB database using the Mongoose library. All right, that's the next thing that we want to do. And we can even say Mongo Atlas, right? And we could also say, actually, that's all we have to say. Let's hit enter. Connect our Express server to Mongo database Atlas, server to MongoDB Atlas database using the Mongoose library. So to connect an Express, or should I do the robot voice? To connect Express.js server, so install the Mongoose library, you got to run the following command, right? So we're going to bring in Mongoose. By the way, if you're curious what Mongoose is, of course you can ask, you can Google, but I am your instructor. So FYI, Mongoose is, again, it's another Node.js. You call it basically an ODM. All right, that just means object data modeling, and it's similar to RAM. All right, but it's basically a problem solver. Mongoose, what it does, and very simply, it allows developers to add schemas. And when you add schemas, then it's really easy to set up your schema, like your database schema. If you want to have users, and the users are going to have names and passwords, that's part of their schema, as we're going to see. Oh, look, it's already being like schema, blah, 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 blah. Wow, this is getting pretty wild. Look at this. It's even showing us how to use the schema. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, we're not building a chess game. So again, you can't like just blindly follow everything and then expect a result. But what you can do is be alert and use your brain and combine these things to get really fantastic results. So we want to install Mongoose, then we want to require it, and this URI, so this identifier, right, this is basically the identification of the URL, it's above. This URI that has a username and password, that's the username and password that we created for our MongoDB database server. This is something you would want to store in the back or in like environment and bring in like .env or a library like that. But of course, if you finish your code, you could always ask ChatGPT after, how do I reinforce security if I'm going to host this online and blah, blah, blah. It'll tell you all these things. I'm telling it to you now because you're learning with now. But this is correct. This is how you would do it. This is a good way to do it for now for learning. Mongo's correct. Good. Let's focus on the first part. So let's go to the terminal because I don't want to get too confused. It's too many things happening. I'm going to open up a new tab because this tab has our server hosted and we don't want to destroy that. We want to keep it rolling for now. And I'm going to say npm install Mongoose. All right. So let's install Mongoose. And we're good. All right. What's next? What's next? Well, it's basically telling us how to connect. It's really giving us everything. It's kind of scary. It's a little bit scary, if you ask me. It's a little bit scary. This is one way to connect. So I could technically copy this. Let's copy this code. But I'm gonna show you a couple things here. I'm gonna go paste above app to bring in Express. I'm going to paste this code in. I'm going to make this bigger so you can see everything clearly. So constant Mongoose. So we're bringing in Mongoose. Then we have this URI, username and password. You must have made your username and password already. If you don't recall, you'd have to go back to your database and you'd have to check, like you would have to check. And by the way, You see this connect button I was talking to you about? If I click on connect right now and I were to click on connect your application, if you did this, see this code? This is the same code. The driver is Node.js, right? That's the driver we want to use because we're using Node.js, the versions that we're using. But this is the code that is telling us. You want to replace password with password and username with username. They already replaced username because remember, my username was 123. So your username and password is what you want to be replacing it. It's just crazy that it shows you how to do that. But then ChatGPT actually does it for you. So Visual Studio Code, username. So I'm going to put in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Was there a 0 at the end of the 0? No, there was no 1, right? I started on 1. Let me double check what I did, actually. I got too excited. Yeah, it's just that 1. Okay, perfect. And the password's the same thing, so I'm going to replace the password. And database name, what's the database name? That's the other thing we want to replace. Cluster 0, right? That's what we called it. So we want to also replace the database name. And we're going to save this. So this is our URI. This will then connect the URI. We're going to use new, this is in order to parse. This is in order to parse and for topology, which we can take a look at later. But would this connect? Would this connect like this? Well, let's try it out. Let me save. Let's go to the terminal. Let's go back to our node. Let's cancel the port and let's relaunch the port and see if we connect. Hit enter. And I'm getting an error here. And errors happen in life, so let's not get too upset because this is part of coding, huge part. So we're getting query server, Mongo database, TCP, cluster 0, MongoDB.net. So let's take a look at what we did wrong. We could debug with ChatGPT and we can say, well, why is this wrong? And go through all of that. But in order to save time for this course, I believe that we're running into an error. Remember, we're fetching a request to a database, and that's an asynchronous operation. And if it fails to get it, JavaScript will continue to run the code because inherently it's synchronous by nature. It can also be asynchronous, but you have to, of course, get it to be asynchronous with the very special statement, with the very special async await statement. So I'm going to rewrite this code a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write async. I'm going to have a function. I'm going to call it connect, which will connect with Mongoose. And we're going to have a try-catch error because that's very good practice. And here we do await. So async, await, then we run mongoose dot, what the heck, IntelliSense. Mongoose.connect, and we're going to connect to the URI. We're going to do the same thing we did. We're going to bring in use new URL, parser, right? Parser, we're going to set it to true. We're going to use unified topology. We're going to set it to true. All right. Now, oops, this should be a semicolon. And if it works, we're going to log connected to Mongo database. Otherwise, we're going to catch the error and we're just going to log what the error is. So console.log error. And hopefully this will give us a bit more of a clearer understanding of what's going on. So let's save this. Now, of course, we have to run the connect function. So if you don't understand functions and function calls, then this is a function, by the way. This is what a function looks like. And you should take the JavaScript course. I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to the terminal. I'm going to close the node server. I'm going to rerun it. And we see that error is not defined. And that's because I forgot probably to write in my catch error. So I'm going to want to have an error. But this is a bad sign because it's going straight to the error. If I run it again, we're getting the same error. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a look. So I don't think it's the async await. I mean, this is a good practice. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this URI. And I'm actually going to go into the database where it says connect to cluster. And I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it. And here under password, just like it tells me to do, I'm going to replace password with this. I'm going to save. And now I'm going to go back into the terminal and run it again. And would you look at this? Server listening on port 3000 connected to Mongo database. Okay, so that worked. All right, that works. So it looks like there was an error somewhere. There was an error somewhere in the URI provided, or in the way I maybe copied the URI over from ChatGPT or his chat. Where'd you go, Mr. Robot? Oh, there you are, ChatGPT. So it gave us the right basis of what to do, but it didn't quite get us there. And of course, we could have debugged it. We could have said it's not working. And we're going to take a look at debugging a lot with ChatGPT later on. But I want to keep this pace going for now. So you should get it to work, all right, at this point in time. And we're covering quite a lot. This is full stack development. The fact that we have the Express running, we have a database that we're now hooked up to already. Wow, it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. And like it said, and if we even look at the examples here, replace username, password, database name, that's exactly what we've been doing. Create the Mongoose model for the collection. So let's stop right here. So we got the connection up and running. And in the next video, let's go ahead and actually take a look at how to write out this schema. And we're going to use this as a model because this is giving us a good example, but we're going to write our own schema for usernames because we just want a name and a password, and we'll start with that. Okay. All right. Fantastic. I'll see you in the next.